Machine testing. You can use that manual protocol to test the effectiveness of maintenance machines. Because over time, handpieces have a tendency to build up a little debris. And if the doctor's office is using an Assistina, you'll see it in spades. Because they're not very good. At least our experience with them. They do a good job of lubricating a handpiece. Most maintenance machines do a better job cleaning them as well. So you can do that in office. And it's a good idea to do it periodically. Maybe bundle that in as your office maintenance on all handpieces. Check the machine, because your workmanship is relying on the reliability of the machine that they're using to clean and lube your handpiece that you repaired, or their handpieces that you repaired. And if by doing the manual process you see a lot of debris after it's gone through the maintenance machine is malfunctioning, or it needs resetting. Okay? Questions? Cool, this group's going fast. Low speed maintenance. Not a lot to do. A lot of air-driven low speeds. Midwest Shorty and True Torques have an air turbine in it, believe it or not. Most others that are E-type are what's called a rotary vane motor. It has vanes and slots of this rotor in the center. It directs air and it spins. It has spring loads. And what happens if it's no lube required, once in a while a piece of debris will get caught up in there. On a slow speed handpiece, some are coupler type, I recommend putting lube in both tubes, the air drive and the exhaust. And the reason you do that is it will put oil or cleaner into two areas of the motor. Put a straight attachment on that E-type or Midwest or whatever you're going to do. Rotate that burr back and forth. If the E-type motor, or say Titan's notorious for they'll stop rotating because they'll either sterilize it with a little piece of debris that's obstructing the way that blades travel inside the cylinder. All it takes is a little finesse, a little cleaner lubricant. You'll feel it, give it a little resistance, and then all of a sudden, zoom, works just great. You'll be their hero because you can do it right there in front of them. Don't do it for free, but do it in front of them, and their thinking is, oh, there's another $200. But then you do that and explain to them this will happen periodically. This is what you need to do. For Midwest True Torques and Shorties and some of the older Titans, you have to be real careful. The threaded end of those handpieces is made of aluminum. And they're screwed onto a stainless steel connector nut. Aluminum is a non-ferrous material. Steel is ferrous material. Those are two unlike materials that have an occurrence called electrolysis. Anytime there's a liquid of any kind between those two surfaces, it expedites the electrolysis. And one way to know if there's a problem, when you take the handpiece or you get the handpiece, you look at the threads on the base of it. They'll be discolored, they'll be pitted, they'll be half stripped off. How you eliminate or how you reduce the likelihood of that happening is when they do any kind of cleaning or maintenance to those handpieces, make sure you or they wipe the threads off clean so that there's no liquids or lubricants left on the threads. Clean out the inside of the connector nut, then screw the two together. Thing happens called electrolysis. With the liquid, it expedites it. It just eats away at the non-ferrous material. What ferrous and non-ferrous means is ferrous material is something with carbon. Most stainless steels have some measure of carbon. Regular steels, 303, some of the other lower grades have a higher, so those are ferrous materials. They can be heat treated. Aluminum cannot. It's a ferrous material. Excuse me, non-ferrous material. Okay? Kind of dips too far back in my schooling. Attachment maintenance. Not a lot has to be done here. One thing that you have to caution your customers using any kind of a cold sterilant, using any kind of a cavi wipe or any of those other disinfectant wipes, the excess liquid will get into nooks and crannies and build up debris over time. One evidence of that, of a high-speed handpiece being overexposed to cold sterilants, is premature bearing failure, or when you take the cap off and you look and you see not only in the head but all over the cartridge a white powdery looking residue. That's from using a cold sterilant. That's a no-no. If they're going to use it, what I recommend you tell them to do is to blow the handpiece off with an air dryer or air nozzle or what's that little thing called? Air and water syringe. It's not a good idea. If they're going to do it, tell them to be careful wiping the head down, be careful on the front back surfaces of the head. That will damage. Using alcohol, that's okay, it dries up faster, but it kind of diminishes O-rings. And over time, O-rings will lose their preload. And sometimes, and I'm sure you've seen it if you've done a lot of traditions, there's a square quad ring that goes with those into the head. Over time, from sterilization, from residual oils and cleaners, you take the cartridge out, you take that O-ring or quad ring out, one side of it's round, like the contour of the head that it went into. A lot of that is from over-sterilization, numerous sterilizations, or the presence of something that would diminish the effectiveness of the O-ring material itself. Right? So keep cavity wipes away from your customers, and by all means, never ever submerge a handpiece in anything that has with the cartridge in the handpiece. We've seen guys that have little glass Purex trays for making loaf breads that have full of cavicide, and they drop a whole handpiece in there thinking it's better for it. Then they take it out, wipe it down, put it in a bag and sterilize it. Not smart. That's where reading the instructions for use is so important.
What were you calling that? The like when you're talking about the cavity wipes and stuff, cold, what was it?
Cold sterilant.
Cold sterilant,
Yeah.
okay.
There's surface disinfectant, and there's even some that proclaim that they're cold sterilant. It'll sterilize the surface. It's kind of a high-powered disinfectant. That high-power element is also caustic and will damage a handpiece. Any other questions?
Just one quick question, because I was just going through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about that slow speed handpiece maintenance, you mentioned in E-type that you put lubricant on both exhaust and...
Right.
You meant lubricant, not the cleaner.
Either one.
Oh, either.
So long as you expel that cleaner
Okay.
and then wipe the threads down on the back. The cleaners and lubricants, like I said, accelerate electrolysis. But it's good to put a cleaner in it because the cleaner will loosen up the debris a little bit quicker than lubricant. Lubricant has a tendency to just attach itself. Cleaners have a tendency to do a little bit of dissolving. But if you use a spray cleaner on a low-speed motor, you should always expel it, then put a couple dropper type oil in it. That's extremely important as well. Okay?
Thank you.
And someone else had a question back there.
Not a good idea to put it into ultrasonic.
Yeah.
It is okay if you take the turbine out, but never submerge a low-speed motor in one. And a good solution for an ultrasonic cleaner is a 10-to-1 solution of Simple Green. Simple Green's an off-the-shelf household product that is FDA approved for poultry processing. And you know what happens processing poultry. That's good. It's a disinfectant, but it's a great degreaser. Be careful when you submerge any handpiece that has aluminum into that solution. Leave it in there too long, it will start degrading the aluminum. It will eat the anodized protective surface.
What's too long?
A day. Because we've had customers that left them in the solution over the weekend, take them out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and it's a different color.
You want to pull the O-rings out of it too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that'll eat up the rubber.
Yeah, well, O-rings, if you take a turbine out of a handpiece, regardless of what you're doing, you should always replace the O-rings. It's like taking a shower and not changing your socks. Always change your socks. And many other things. Point is, it should be done every time. Okay, any more questions?